Okay.
Oh, no, standing. We're on. Dito ka ma'am, ang partner mo is...
I stand?
Yes, you stand.
Can I say it's live,
Yes. Okay. Sir,
Hello, go.
he's playing. Sir,
So nobody just enters.
bakit yung na tayo?
No, somebody might enter.
Ay, oo.
Okay, go.
Go.
Hello, Go Negosyantes. My name is Chal, Lontoc, and we are here right now at Mentor Me, live of course, and online. And all you guys have to do is log on. Okay? So there are two ways that you guys could listen in. There's a very good topic that we're going to be sharing with everyone. Tamang-tama para sa lahat. We all know everyone is going through certain challenging times, have a lot of question and even confusion with what's happening to their business, what can they do. So we hope that we're going to be able to answer all of that for you guys today. And all you have to do is log on. There are two ways. First is to go and follow us on Facebook Live, Go Negosyo's Facebook Live, of course. And we are going live right now as we speak. Or better yet, if you already have your Mentor Me app, or if you don't, please make sure to download Mentor Me app and then log in. So we're going to be showing you guys how to log in using the Mentor Me app. It's really, really simple. You can actually enjoy reading blogs, learnings there live. So this is how it's done. First off, once you've logged on, all you have to do is get connected and log in or subscribe if you haven't. Once you're able to do that, you can choose after you've logged in as a mentee. Kami po ang mag-mentor sa inyo. A whole roster of mentors there in the app, together of course with topics that are related to your business that you can choose, whether through blog or to get connected to Go Negosyo and our mentors itself. So start downloading the app. Make sure to log in as well. Watch us right now. And most importantly, if you guys have questions, because I know a lot of you do, even I do as an entrepreneur, please make sure to send in your questions. This is a time that we should be actually discussing and finding relevant action to take for everyone. So, as we begin, I also want to just share with you guys our 21 steps to start and grow your business. Of course, originally, of course, written by also Ping Soto and as well as Dean Lapid. Brought to you by Concepcion, of course. So this is our book. We hope that you guys already have a topic. Hopefully, we will be able to touch on some of the steps here to be able to apply as well to some of the concerns that you guys have today. So this one is it. So let's begin. We're very fortunate to have with us our mentors as well. To share with us their knowledge and information that we are all, if I could say, clamoring for. Okay, as entrepreneurs, everyone is looking for answers. Everyone has concerns. So we hope that during these challenging times, you could be enlightened with this talk as well. So first off, of course, we have PA Joey Concepcion, also founder of Go Negosyo. Sir Joey, thank you for making time. We also have, of course, CEO of French Baker, no other than the great mentor himself as well, Johnlu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting.
Okay, so maybe the best way that I could begin this is to just step back a little and ask for a time, being negosyantes yourself, no, wherein we had quite a similar experience. For example, for me in the travel industry, that would be the 9/11 and SARS, no? But of course, these days are very different. We have a lockdown, there's a curfew and all sorts, no? But can you name a time that in the business or in the industry, you probably experienced somewhat the same, and how were you able to mitigate it or survive through it? I'll probably begin with Sir Johnlu.
Oh.
A similar time.
Well, the word curfew reminded me of martial law when we were just like teenagers.
True, and that's why you hear some concerns arising, no?
And of course, when freedom of movement becomes restricted, people feel uneasy. You see, so that's the closest. This is not even close to Pinatubo, not even close to the earthquakes.
Yes.
Not even the typhoons, because typhoons, it doesn't hit everybody. It just hits those who are near the areas, the coastal areas, for example. So I cannot think of a recent experience that will equal this.
So definitely we're in a time wherein a lot of entrepreneurs are experiencing this for the first time. whether a young entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur, or someone who's been, of course, in the business for long, no? I was just wondering if there were any lessons that we could have learned or steps that we've already applied before that we should already be applying currently, but maybe we can go back to that. I know a lot of entrepreneurs now, especially retailers, people who are in the malls, have so much question and concern, and I think it's just the right time to go head on with it and straight with it. That if I may, that we received somewhat a memorandum and a circular already that could help alleviate these concerns. Sir Joey, can we kindly talk about this?
Well, first of all, I know a lot of our viewers are concerned, especially our entrepreneurs, on how they will survive in a crisis like this. Frankly speaking, I've not seen anything like this. What makes this different during the days of martial law is something that we don't know about. You know, we can't control a virus that you don't know where it's going to hit next. And I guess the real issue here is what is the right, advice that we can give you. And actually, things are so fluid. And the challenge really is how, like today, we had to make adjustments because a lot of people didn't get into their transportation because, of course, the issue really is social distancing, which is one way to prevent the virus. No? And it's totally different every day. So if you ask me, am I worried? Obviously, I'm concerned because the things keep changing every day. And for our entrepreneurs, especially in the retail and tourism sector, your challenge really is how do you survive? And my advice is to really conserve your cash. Of course, we don't want to lay off our employees. That's the last thing we want to do. You want to stop the bleed in your business, and if the malls are closed, then there's nothing else that you can do but to really, obviously, close your stop.
It's good that we're touching on this. Actually, it's one of the things that everyone is saying right now, especially as mentors, is the first thing that people are supposed to
You want to correct the
start
volume first if you're having a hard time.
Okay lang, sir. Dito lang.
Okay, is to actually check on cash flow, as they say,
Yeah.
your P&L and all of that, no, which we can go through one by one. But like I've mentioned, one of the main things that I've been seeing online is really the not just a request, but really a clamor to nasa na yung tulong, paano natin gagawin to, especially with the malls. So I think it's just right time, no, that we
Of course,
here at Go Negosyo.
of course, I've been talking to the mall owners. Of course, if the mall is closed, they're not going to charge rent. That's very clear. I mean, needless to say, and in the end, if there are no people that are going to the malls, then obviously everybody will have to save, and really realize and the realization is just happening just so fast. All of a sudden, from 3 people who had it, one who passed away much earlier, early January, now you're moving up to 100 something. You want to fix first the volume before we continue?
Yung voice lang, sir. Okay lang.
Why did you just give me a mic na lang? So anyway, that's the challenge, no? In other words, and my advice is to really conserve cash. And if you have to stop your operation, just stop your operation.
Okay, so if I may, we are very lucky that Secretary Mon of TTI also shared this with us, so I could just mention, so that it could be really helpful to all the entrepreneur viewers who are here. It is specified that lessors and owners of these business spaces shall share the responsibility by waiving the corresponding rental fees and charges of stores that were closed during the 1 month period of general community quarantine as a result of this memorandum circular. So again, we just want to repeat that it's been written down here already on this memorandum. I think this just came out yesterday, yesterday. So to
Not just for malls and other businesses as well.
to other lessors as well, this
Yeah,
applies to
yeah,
them too.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's good that you guys heard it here at Go Negosyo, because I'm sure this could also help ease out some of your concerns. Okay, so let's go back to the mindset. You know, being entrepreneurs, I like how honest we were, Sir Joey, that everyone, it doesn't matter, no one is immune to this. No matter what stage you are in business, you're starting a small micro entrepreneur all the way up, you know, to all these businessmen. Everyone has a sense of concern. No one is immune to this. But what mindset can we put knowing that this is something that we can't even see it? We don't know how long for. How can we apply a certain mindset to this?
I think everybody in crisis has to have a worst case scenario plan, you know, what to do. I mean, the best case is the virus is gone in a month, no? But the worst case, it can last for a couple of months or much longer. And this is where you really have to have strong faith, you know. I mean, the Asian crisis and the banking crisis were, for us in big business, that was really a challenging time. And in the Philippines, not many felt it because it was really a problem of leveraging. Today, even if you're not leveraged or you don't have a loan, you will get hit, no matter what business is it. The only good business today are basically in the sense of food and medicines, but a lot of our entrepreneurs are basically in the retail sector, and many of our micro and small entrepreneurs are in that sector. Fortunately, many of our micro entrepreneurs are also owners of sari-sari stores, palengkes, and they carry food and products, and all of these shops are well insulated. They'll continue to do okay. It's in really restaurants, entertainment, etc. You know, that will get hit, and that's also a large portion. But the challenge really is now, how do we ensure that the supply chain is not disrupted? No? And government is looking at that. I've made my recommendations on how we can prevent a disruption in the supply chain. The challenge really is, how do we manage two elements? What is the two elements? Fear and the virus. Okay. You have to balance both in a sense. If you tilt towards too much of the fear, then technically you may have eliminated the virus, but you might have also eliminated every entrepreneur out there, unless there is a huge rescue package for all of these people who go bust. So remember, everybody is part of this whole supply chain. So restaurants like French Baker, the malls make money out of these establishments in the retail sector. And of course, the shopping centers and has their own department stores. So that's all part of the retail chain too. So the banks are the ones extending the loan. So if all of these retailers stop overnight, then you will have the malls going bust as well, right? Yep. And the banks will be affected. So you really have to manage both sides. And to me, it's really very difficult. People in government are having that pressure, because how do you do that? You might over tilt towards managing the virus and forgetting the business. No? So it has to really be that balance, and hopefully through time and being watchful, you maintain that balance, and you at least are able to get rid of the virus and still keep bulk of the businesses alive. No? Because once the businesses get destroyed, it's going to be hard to rebuild them again. So tourism is greatly affected. And by far, I mean, it's not the fault of this government. It's just the virus has just given everybody so much fear today, you know, to go out, to travel, to do anything. So automatically, as
we stay home, and which is important because we prevent the virus. If that continues to last very long, then all the businesses will be destroyed.
It's
Yeah.
good that we talked about this and touched on this. Not that we're scaring anyone. These are just facts, you know. As with anything in life, finding the balance is always key. But how do you do that? Because earlier on, Sir Johnlu, we were talking, and it's good that you brought it up, nga na, if you tilt it on one side, like what Sir Joey just said, no, then you have a different kind of pandemic. You've got chaos, and we were talking
Yeah.
about this, so people understand also why it's very important to talk about what to do with entrepreneurs.
You know, Chal, last night when I got hold of this copy from Secretary Lopez online, on page 2 and page 3, I was really, really very, very grateful that he was able to spell out in no uncertain terms that government says, should businesses close as a result of this one stoppage, there will be no rental and other charges levied on business establishments. Because if you were to look at, for example, the cost of our income statement, there are fixed costs, then there are variable costs. I don't want to sound like an accounting teacher, although I was a teacher. If you look at your fixed costs and to create a mindset that is positive, no? If you were to look at the fixed cost, the biggest component would be, of course, rent. In the mall, it's extremely high. So, for example, for a travel agent, for example, I would think that if you were located in Makati, your rent would be thousands per square. I'm sure you would need at least 100 square. 100 by thousands would be close, and other charges would be 200 to 300,000 just 1 month alone. Can you imagine if government and the private sector, the malls already, and the offices already told you, don't worry about that. Then we will have some resources saved for our employees and say, hey, look, we will be there when you need us. Immediately that burden, that kind of a survival mindset would have been taken out of our system. Then let's look positive. Let's look for positive ways. The other cost is the variable cost. In our case, what does it cost to make a piece of croissant or a piece of baguette or a piece of sourdough? Usually in the food business, everybody knows it's really the fixed cost and the operating cost that is higher than the cost of the goods, only because it's difficult to make and it takes time, etc. So if you're able to look at your cost and you're able to save on the fixed, you'll have a better chance of surviving. And that is what Sir Joel was saying. How do you conserve cash? So if the malls come in and say, hey, look, don't worry about it. We want you to be alive. 30 days after, let's reopen our store. Welcome back. COVID will be over. Then people will still hold on to this hope. In this season of hopelessness, it's like Lent. Going through Lent, there's going to be Easter Sunday. So we should not give up. But on your own, look, in my case, what's the mindset? Do not make your people lose their morale. That's very important. This is fighting a war that we don't see the enemy. So talk to them, be with them. Yesterday, I was in Mega Mall. I was the last one out of the mall because I have a Segway and they allow me to move around with my Nano Segway. So I was looking around, really observing how are they feeling. I talked to the guys who just opened, like in Panda Express. I talked to them, so how was it? This, and then I was in Yayoi, and then my own people. I talked to them and I asked them, how do you feel? Because I know there's going to be live streaming now. I want to get their feedback. And everybody seems to be hopeful. Everybody's hopeful. I said 30 days lang po. Oh, okay, good. So in Mega Mall in particular, everybody's upbeat. We will be back. Because as we go in, the first thing they did also in RFM building is to spray our hands with alcohol.
Or for any mall or establishment for that matter.
Grabe, that's the right thing everybody did, is to make sure that everybody felt secure. The moment our hands are disinfected, we could not potentially infect more. That's if you're still healthy, right? So my mindset is think positive, and of course, it's just like business going through a cold too. It takes time to incubate and then time to recover. Now, those businesses who have very hazy idea as to their target market. They don't know who they're selling to. They don't know how to compete. They don't know how to price. They don't know how to produce a better product. Of course, they might be really hit hard, because after this crisis, the better ones will survive. And we hope that we will be there after 30 days or more, because people like unique products, people like quality products, people like products that have value, etc. So do not blame everything on COVID. Look inwardly. How can we strengthen? And this is the 30-day period for us to take a break and say, let's re-strategize, let's go forward, it's going to come. If China could do it, Korea could do it, Italy is about to do it, Spain is about to do it. That's where we should go. That's
And
how I
Taiwan
feel.
was able to do it. I just have to add that also.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Okay, it's good that you mentioned the word strategize. Okay, so we're gonna go very into detail into those. So let's start off with me, us as negosyantes. Syempre, before we can take care of our people, we have to ensure that the business is gonna do well in the future, if not now, no? So what exact measures have you heard from other entrepreneurs, or you yourself, or Sir Joey maybe with other entrepreneurs, that they've already put in place? So for one, the common concern is my team, my staff, my employees. So thank you, Dole was able to release the flexible work management into that, wherein of course they could use their leaves, so on and so forth. And then we have this from DTI. But as an entrepreneur, what can we do and strategize right now? Maybe from personal experience, real details that we can take on from other businesses.
Well, for the big businesses, I think they can manage through this, no? Except for those extremely leveraged, and maybe there might be a bit of challenge if this prolongs. No? But if we were to look at the retailers, we can classify two parts of it. You've got the retailers in malls, and you've got the retailers in the side streets, the palenques, the wet markets,
Yeah.
the sari-sari stores. Those are, I believe those people will still be okay because they're dealing with basic food. No?
Yes.
And in times of crisis, people will, food and medicines are very important. No? So that sector is relatively fine. Of course, there will be challenges still, but I think they're okay. It's really those retailers in the malls, because of the mall closures, because of people not being able to go to the malls, that will be affected. So I go back to the simple thing, is that how do you survive? You have to stop the bleed. So if there's nobody going to the mall anymore, obviously the mall will close and you will be forced to close. So you've stopped the bleed in terms of rental. The question now is, what do you do with your employees? That's the hardest decision to make. If the employee is so critical to your operation, and I guess you will keep that employee, but at the end of the day, you may have to make that hard decision of letting go the employee because you will eventually close. So these are the decisions that each one will have to make. It's a tough decision. And sometimes you get to that point that there's no other alternative. The point is that the ideal situation is that you keep your employee and continue paying him. But if you don't see an end in sight, then there's no alternative. You'll have to make that painful
Self-preservation. The
Self-preservation.
business has to preserve itself.
To be able to also help others.
Because in the end, you'll eventually close as well.
If you eventually close, then it's a lose-lose for everyone.
So some of the things that I've heard, no, before we go on to that other ending, of course, the first one is take using of their leaves. Next one is also as the skeletal system, which a lot are already, of course, using. There's also already use of like Team A, Team B, Team A being the people who live closer to
Chal,
work.
you saw
and so
today
on.
that there are people who couldn't take the ride. I guess the private sector had to experience what it is.
Yes.
So now we all know that we really have to cut back, because if you look at the MRTs by the social distance, you will lose about 40% of your public transportation. That's a fact. So technically speaking, the private sector has to reduce people coming to the office by 40%.
Yes, and it's also part of course, the
30%
protocol
or
for
40%.
safety as well. Because
Yes.
no one, as employers...
So that will force us to really do all of this. Work from home, rotation, etc., etc. It just pushes you to that. Now, the question is, can you afford it? Well, large corporations will be able to afford it. No? Medium size, I guess, they will be able to afford it. For how long, we all don't know. we hope that this is not going to go beyond 1 year. I mean, to me, I'm looking at the scenario that things will get better. My own gut feel maybe by June. Maybe that's my gut feel. But it all depends on how both private sector and the government work hand in hand to solving this problem. And I always put it to this point that you can't go to the extreme on either side. You have to find that balance where you keep the business alive and you can still fight the virus. So if we're able to do that, in the end, we will be able to get rid of the virus because of all of this, distancing and all of that. And the businesses will continue to survive. In the end, there will always be collateral damage. You have that in human beings. You will have that also in the business.
So I think we're also talking, that everyone is already on quite a survival mode na nga. Kumbaga, sino ang mas mahaba ang pise? Are you talking 2 months, 3 months, or are you ready up to 6 months? Sir Johnlu being a mentor in this, sabi mo nga, accounting well too. Paano nga ba nila mako-compute yun? Just a basic, if we're talking to the other entrepreneurs who are probably just getting started or are, fear ang namumuna eh. So let's, as what Sir Dean Pax would always say, before we agonize, let's organize. So let's organize your thoughts. How do they compute for that so that they know, okay, I could give myself 2-3 more months or up to 6 months? The forecasting.
Those, for example, if you have an office or if you're not in the mall, at least the malls, we are assured that in the mall we get a reprieve. Those who are not, I think it's right time that everybody's suffering. I think if you are hard up on rent for a while, talk to your landlord and say probably, I'm sure they want to keep you forever as long as you have been paying well and you have a good business that's worth keeping. So they want to keep you. So if it's a matter of timing, any landlord that is smart will always say yes. And you've been doing so for many, many years. That's done. Secondly, I think people, I agree with government. You just have to ask people to consume their leaves because it's theirs anyway. They're also about cash flow, diba, Joey? They also want to know, if I go back and stay home, do I have money to buy rice, to buy bread, and
and more bread.
Joke lang.
Why don't you tell us what are things that, let's say, personally you've done already with French Baker? Close down or some stores?
You will never close down a store because the malls will not like that idea because they also think this is a short term. Short term is anything under 12 months, that's short term. So what I'm saying is that talk to the biggest chunk of our fixed cost is rent. The next will be utilities. Kung walang tao sa opisina, siyempre, zero electricity, zero kuryente, zero tubig, zero gas, di ba? Wala, zero billing. Kung meron, may leak.
And of course, some of the utilities, actually, their companies have already done their part as well into saying, let's say with PLDT, that you can defer until another 30 days of payment, and that's their way of support also, together with some of the other phone companies.
Yeah, anything. And I would think that probably the government or the mayors probably will say, thanks for supporting us now that we've been through it. Maybe next year we get a discount on certain taxes, on permits, and whatever.
May sinabi na po ba?
No, I'm just thinking aloud.
I want to also touch on that because these are the more sensitive topics that, as an entrepreneur, they're also wondering. We take care of ourselves, we take care of our family, of our team, of our employees. And so far, has there anything, aside from, of course, the good things that DTI and Dolly has been also doing, in terms of government, sa mga tax breaks, we haven't heard with this, no? Anything?
No, not yet. I think the basic focus really right now is to try to look for that balance, and I think the government is trying to look for that balance, and realizing that you have to maintain that balance of the fear and the virus. So that's what they're trying to do, and that's why there are adjustments as we move on.
I think, as you mentioned kanina, this is very fluid. Everything is happening day by day, and not just us, but even the government is also finding their steps along the way with it. But maybe.
But everybody should be flexible. Just because we're in the mall, the government did not tell us that we cannot sell bread. I can, if somebody wants. I mean, we can put up a small caravan in a village and say, at this time, come get your bread.
But
We can do that.
what's important?
For example.
What's important here is the government has to continue with its programs and infrastructure. All of these things cannot stop because the moment you cut the supply of construction workers
Oh, yes.
or building our bridges
Yeah.
Oh,
and all
yes.
of that, those have to continue. And that's what I say. If you are going to stifle the entire business, a lot of people will go out of work. And how do you pay them? The government doesn't. The private sector and the government cannot pay people who are out of work. So life has to move on, but with the proper care. When I say proper care, this proper distancing from people, and obviously our MRTs, our jeeps, and all of that cannot be loaded 100%. So they have to cut it down to 60% of the load to bring down the risk. So now, what you see with the private sector, we will have to adjust. We will have to now give our employees more time to work from home, maybe declare day offs, people go on vacation leave, use up your sick leaves, all of that. There are mechanisms where you can utilize to save on your cash. So get your employees to use your VL, your SL for now. Now, if you're maybe a larger company and doing well, maybe you can develop a COVID leave, no? But that's up to each and every private sector on how they would adapt to these coping times to help the employees. In the end of the day, while we want to preserve our business, of course, we also want to keep the employees employed, no? And that's important. So we want to see the expansion moving on, even with this virus, no? Because the moment everybody stops their projects, then you'll have a serious unemployment. And when you have a serious unemployment, people don't have money, how do they fight the virus? So it is really looking in its totality. And tomorrow, hopefully our meeting will go through with the cabinet secretaries and the private sector. And that's really the message that we are trying to drive, that this is really a team effort between government and the private sector. We stand to gain when we work closely with them, no? And I've gotten the support of all the business organizations. And if you look at it, when I asked Jaime, Isabel, Lance, Tessie, Hans, Kevin, who else, Georgie Cotianum, all these guys who own big malls, I mean, they said, of course, we will help the people, help them where they are today, right? Many of these small businesses are one of the reasons why many of these malls have done so well. So in the end, when there is a crisis, they will definitely help the entrepreneurs. Or in the end of the day, these are the guys who made them what they are today. So I was telling many of the entrepreneurs who are part of PFA, PRA, and AFI that don't worry. I mean, they will. There's a lot of compassion from this sector, and in the end, this is where, in a way, big business has to come and step up and help.
And this is also where we're actually seeing yung pagka big brother, no? Mentors to mentees, bigger businesses to smaller businesses, government, of course, with the private
For example,
sector.
it would be foolish for a supplier, for example, to demand for immediate payment, because if you lose this buyer, you're going to lose him for life. And it can even affect the supplier's business in the long run. We are systematically put into this crisis. Systematic means it affects everybody, big, small, large or tiny, whatever. So if somebody is trying to do something to protect himself and himself alone, be it personal business, that guy may actually perish in time. That's why, for example, I talked about Chal, your business a while ago.
Yes, being in the travel industry.
Yeah, can you imagine if people needed you for a refund and you put up like an attitude? You're gonna lose the guy for
Forever.
life. If the guy was buying like 500,000, tickets a year, and because of bad attitude and you don't return call, you're gonna lose the guy for life. Then again, if somebody did that wrongly, you can get the guy to buy from you.
An opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
Wait, you have a very nice message here, Sir Johnlu, because we always talk about this in all seminars. Weiji,
Weiji.
Yeah, Weiji.
Weiji, the Chinese word for crisis.
Crisis and opportunity put together. No, let's talk more about that, because people are wondering. Okay, Now, how, especially in the travel sector, we all thought, oh, we don't have business, but now it's an opportunity for us to actually be of service to people, whether they book with us from the start or not, to help them out. So there's opportunity in everything, and I wanted to highlight that because it's such a positive message as well.
Yeah, for example, in our case, it's 30 days of free time for me because we've been expanding so rapidly as well in French Baker Group. It's time for me to get key people to come in and give them a project of 30 days. In 30 days, look at this opportunity as well as threat. You have threats, like in Chal time, we were ahead 10 years ago. Now we're threatened, now but we see an opportunity. Because after this crisis, the smaller players will be hit by supply disruption, market disruption, pricing disruption, whatever. And look at that opportunity. Maybe you don't know, but there are opportunities. So I told them, look for those opportunities. Like a teacher, right? Yeah? Tell your student, research. The research is to learn from many people.
And now is actually the time to do that for most people, putting their team, their companies into learning mode. Kasi we're not as busy, no? So learning mode, everyone. I just want to remind lahat po ng ating mga viewers that feel free to ask your questions po. We have, this is live of course, both on our Mentor Me app online at sa Go Negosyo Facebook. All you have to do is send in your questions, and we would love to answer them. I'm sure marami po sa inyo, maraming katanungan. Imbis na ilabas po natin ang galit natin sa Facebook status at kung ano-ano pa, mas maganda po ay matuto tayo. So let's all learn with it. I think one of the other questions that we've been also receiving, seeing people post online, and the question that they've been asking, I was scheduled to open my business at this time. Diba? Should they proceed or not?
Obviously not.
Not.
Obviously, especially in the retail sector, don't do that. It's the wrong time. Depends on what kind of business you have, but at this point in time, if it's an offline business, I suggest not. If it's an online business, well, if it is something that is an opportunity that will help the current situation, it depends. No? Delivery businesses, when I was checking with some, it's not so good because people are scared they would get the virus. So.
Especially
delivery, But I mean, in the end, it's just extremely too much fear out there that I wouldn't recommend anybody. Now, my advice to all of you who are running a business, and this is part of being an entrepreneur. The challenges that you would face is part of what makes you develop your character. I've gone through many crises in my start of my entrepreneurship journey, in buying companies, buying the wrong ones, losing so much money, and facing the Asian crisis, and there were two of them, and then of course the U.S. banking crisis, which rocked the whole system. And if you were leveraged at that time, you'd think that it was the end of the world. But in the end, I always believe that prayers do work, and of course it cannot just be prayers alone, but you have to think. You can't say, okay, bahala na. I mean, I'm praying and I think I'll do well. No, you have to also look at the real situation, your current situation, financial situation, your business model, how much bleed it can take, and do you want all your reserves to go to waste? So if you don't have that reserve, then you have to make that hard decision to close. There's nothing wrong in closing a business just to preserve your financial income, because you're taking care of your family. So that's what's important. Anyway, the business can always be reopened at a better time. So these are important things. I mean, this is not, some people might say, wow, I'm a poor entrepreneur, I failed in a crisis. But these are crises that are beyond your control. So my advice is think through and definitely pray hard.
Okay.
My answer to that question is, it depends on the business that they're looking at. If it is a service-oriented business where your fixed costs are low, I think, as Joey says, if it is something like online, probably you might want to go ahead. Because remember, in crisis, there will be winners and there will be losers. So if somebody is not strong enough to survive, would leave the industry, then the guy will have created a vacuum. And you know, in business opportunities, in industry analysis of opportunities, you look at those gaps, those vacuums created by people who will have left the industry. Then you can come in to fill it up. In the food industry, for example, in the retail mall, every time somebody closes a store, then in a matter of months, a new one will come in. If it's not a steak, it's a chicken, it's a burger, it's a pizza, it's a whatever. It could be a bakery, whatever. So yes, it depends on the business that you're looking into. And also, this crisis will have created a lot of new business ideas. I'm sure young people under 30 would have thought already by this time that, hey, why don't I do this? Hey, why don't I? Because their friends asked for it and nobody could supply.
So now is again back to opportunity.
Back to Facebook and start reading and doing your research. What are they complaining about? Diba yung in marketing seminars, they always say AIDA. What is AIDA? When you're looking for a business opportunity. No, what is MIDA, not AIDA? MIDA. So if you're looking for a business opportunity, you first ask yourself, what is missing in the marketplace? Hey, something is missing and I can supply it. What is irritating in the marketplace? When people feel irritated about something, that means to say the product is not doing its function of supplying a need. And then what is disappointing? Long lines, long queues, it's so hot, etc. And then what is annoying? Annoying is, why do I have to do this again and again if somebody else could give it better, for example. So if you apply that in this situation, I'm sure you would find an opportunity. I remember the long queues in the supermarket, initially for toilet paper, then for alcohol, and for canned goods, etc., etc. And then now you can see, with just a crisis ongoing, people could not check out. So now, supermarkets will now already say, hey, why don't we do self-checkouts?
Offer that already.
Yeah, I mean, when I go abroad, for example, US, Hong Kong lang, meron na. You can check out yourself. It's just one guy looking at 6 or 8 self-checkout counters, and for the most part, people are just in a hurry, and they wanted to have it done with, and they're very honest, and you have all the CCTV cameras looking over you, and you'll have one guy there at the exit who's already looking, observing you, and everything is so easy and so fast.
Interestingly enough, the basic concept that we always talk about, even before any of this has happened, which is to find the problem and be a solution to it, so on and so forth. Now it is applying to our current situation as well, and it could be done
Diba,
as well.
Chal, sa checkout ng supermarket, you're the 5th guy on line, on queue.
Doon na lang ako sa...
So can you imagine if a supermarket or hypermarket, or for that matter, any market were to have self-service, I only wanted to buy 15 items.
And interestingly enough, what also emerged, I don't know if this could bring about ideas to some of the entrepreneurs here, but two things that emerged when all of this happened. First one is, walang makapagsimba. All of a sudden, all the masses went online and people started listing. Second was, there was a whole list of groceries or where to buy items online, like whether it was pag-meat sections and pwede online, isang buong listahan nun. So you could actually take inspiration with that or find opportunities with that as well. I just wanted to greet, we actually have almost 200 people online right now. At least mas marami tayo kasi sa COVID. So almost 200. Thank you so much for watching it, and please send in your questions. We also have our mentors from Go Negosyo, Dean Pax Dapit, who I mentioned a while ago, who was the one who said, don't agonize, organize. So that helped everyone put into focus. So we have a couple of questions here from our listeners. So let's start off with one of them. Since most of the people are staying at home, what would be the most recommended online business that people can start or do with just their data and mobile phones? Meron bang ideas?
Well,
Of
I
course,
guess
meron.
this is the time for everybody to dig into their little tiny or big bodegas. I think if there are for 30 days, you must have found something you don't really need. Try to monetize it or liquidate it. I'm sure there must be some way of selling it to somebody who needs it more than you do. So that's an opportunity. I'm sure you now have all the 14 hours a day to sort through your gamit and then post it and then sell online, whatever. I'm sure you can do that. The other thing for me is a hobby. The hobby can become a hobby that can become a business idea. You know, for us, for example, like a culinary person, I would watch a lot of cooking shows because it will, and then go online and study, like master class. Yeah.
Ang isang umuusbong dyan is mga online classes.
Yes.
Like what we're doing right now, this is actually a free mentorship for
Yeah.
all of you.
Online
so
class.
go
It's-
online.
And then go, if you're in the food business, there are like infinite number of recipes. Then you now go to the market and buy the ingredients, test, cook, share your food, improve. 30 days is not too long anyway.
We used to dream for this. For some entrepreneurs, kailangan ko na magpahinga. Ito na yun.
Pero ito yung pahingang walang kita.
Ito yung pahingang walang tulog. Hindi ka makatulog din, no?
At saka siyempre, kita rin natin importante. So going back kanina, Chal, I think let us emphasize the fact that yung sinabi ni Mr. Joey kanina, yung tingnan mo yung cash flow and then look at your inflow and your outflow. Inflow is kung anong pumapasok, whether sales or collection from receivables.
Correct.
Outflow, yung mga
Babayarin.
utang mo, babayarin. Eh kung short ka, kausapin mo na ngayon pa lang. Landlord, ang hindi mo makausap siguro yung BIR kasi may multa.
Yan, babalikan natin mamaya.
Oo, kasi kung tax due, talagang tax due. Eh kung bangko, loan, ganon, baka ang bangko pwede rin magbigay ng konting palugid na baka pwedeng 30 days, lahat ng automatic extension. Example lang.
Well, you were actually answering another question that we have here from one of our many watchers right now. Yun nga, pwede ba daw niya kausapin yung kanyang landlord kasi nga kailangan niya magbawas ng expenses? Most definitely, of course, now is the time to make a discussion of some sort as mentioned by both of our mentors here. I think another good thing to add to that is that's why we are part of certain associations. So to be able to use that voice, hopefully, maybe a group of 100
Tsaka isa
people
pa dyan.
more than
Alam mo mga business people, I don't know if Joey will agree with me. Kapag may problema tayo, pag pinag-uusapan, gumagaan. Gumagaan.
That's why we're here right now.
Gumagaan eh. Di ba? It's not that we forget about it. It's just that it opens up our minds to things that we do not normally think about.
And I think it also helps to know that it's not just you. This is something that we are all going through. As mentioned, no one is immune to this. We are all in this right now. We have a couple more questions. Some actually very specific and direct. Ito naman, from Leslie. Paano po ba mabawi ang sales ng salon? We're right now in the middle of crisis. Halos lahat po tayo. Yes, we are in that. So, salon, business ang pinag-uusapan. This goes to mani, pedi, mga parlors. Yun nga, nabanggit nyo.
First of all, tanong ng ate, humahaba ba yung buhok ng tao? Yes. So it's just a matter of time. Humahaba ba yung mga kuko natin? Yes. It's a matter of time. At some point, yung customers will have to look for you.
That makes sense. Again, going back to what you said, for now, to preserve, talk to yung costs, diba? Check
Yeah.
it. Check the costs.
Talk to your landlord, talk to your banker, talk to your supplier, because your suppliers just want to make sure that you are afloat. If they push you over the cliff, they will lose everything.
Okay, will it be good for companies to grab this opportunity and seize the digital platform to promote their brand instead of closing down? I think what's more important to ask here is, how do you promote? How do you promote consciously in times like this, marketing-wise? Is it safe
But
to go out
you don't
and
run a
say-
business
Yeah.
just to promote your brand and looks
Yeah.
like hell. I mean, you're the matter. You're just gonna die, no? So I don't. I think that's not correct.
Quite silly that
I
it-
think promote values. Like you don't go around do things that will make people feel bad.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't flaunt. You don't do things like. We have to be with our customers. We have to be there. We have to be with our people. But I think you wouldn't want to promote, let's say, at this time of the crisis, that you are infallible, that you are whatever you are. I mean, people know. There's nobody immune. Nobody's immune to this anyway. But if you promote the fact that you share knowledge, you share product, you are sympathetic, I think these are sentiments human enough for people to know and understand that you care. Do you care? If you care as a company, they will remember you when the good times come back.
And that's actually a very important message to now that lahat is naghihirap, kung sino ang kasama mo, ang naging kadamay mo all throughout that, no? Maybe I could give some few examples that we've been seeing online. Smaller entrepreneurs have been doing. Many restaurants have already shared their food with our frontliners, mga hospital. Kanina I was sharing with you, sir, that si Mark Cuban, isa sa mga sikat na negosyante, was that since everyone will be working from home, he encouraged them na pag bumili kayo online to small businesses within the area, the local neighborhood, keep the receipt and he will reimburse it. Kasi nga tulong yun sa mga ibang maliliit na negosyo. So now is the time to also support businesses that are small and that, you know, you could already support. Kumbaga, kung kailangan mo ng pagkain, who can you buy from, so on and so forth. Okay, more questions. We've been saying work from home. To be honest, are the Filipinos really ready with this setup? Certain segments, of course, like advertising, yes, they've been doing it already. How do we integrate this right now? Siyempre, manufacturing, medyo mahirap yan. Hindi natin pwedeng ipasok yan ng basta-basta. But we have some questions here. How do we integrate work from home in our
It
business?
depends. You know, the problem is if you're fully computerized and
Yeah,
digitalized.
it's okay.
Like in our, we can run it through our SAP, but not everybody is that way. I mean, especially our micro and small entrepreneurs, definitely not. They must be physically present. But I think what the government is trying to address are the medium and larger companies to try to see how they can contribute to lessening the number of people that are coming and riding the MRTs, LRTs, and jeeps. So that is something that maybe we will think through and how to handle that. But in general, I mean, it really depends. But if I were to look at the sector that we're helping, micro and small, they really are in the stores, not in their home. You can't work because they're running sari-sari stores,
Yeah.
palenques and all of that, parlors. You can't work from home. Those are physical. Most of these skilled workers are there, no? And they're the owners themselves, no? So it depends, no?
And it's
Depends.
important that they must be there because they perform a function.
And Johnlu is always there in his skateboard. They're going around.
Yeah, certain functions.
You gotta
na-
check,
na- yeah, so we were talking about sales, perhaps. Just reach the quota, then hopefully whatever that quota is during these times, so that's just one that you can exercise it with. Although it's not the responsibility of employers, of course, to give the tools for that, maybe now is the time to practice that.
So,
Oo.
again, do not wait for the day to come. If you have difficulty, anticipate for it this early. Talk to your supplier, talk to your bank, talk to your landlord. They will be sympathetic because they're there to collect. But if you cannot do your business, it's not your fault. Parlor, for example, the biggest cost is the rent.
Also,
So if they
yeah.
shut down, di walang kuryente, and then the other cost is too big. Eh syempre, i-wash yung hair mo eh. Eh kung wala ka ng kuryente, wala ka ng tubig, at wala ka ng rent, everybody can survive better. So you now dig into your savings, to your tinatawag na emergency fund. Diba sa financial literacy?
Let's talk about that. People have set aside money, of
Diba?
course.
When you attend
When
the
do they
financial
know?
literacy course, they always tell you, ladies and gents, do not forget, you must have 6 months emergency fund. What is emergency fund? Emergency fund is equal to your day-to-day expense minus your savings, minus your pagala-gala, minus your kape at iba pa. Yan yung emergency fund. Little for medication, for this and that. Multiply that by 6. Emergency fund may not be your salary. It could be a portion of your salary. Always wait for that time when you need it, and then you encash it. And then that money is just in your drawer, of course not in the bank, in your vault, whatever. This is the time. Maybe for those who have businesses, dip into your personal, because obviously you have a house, you don't pay rent, you drive your car, you can cut back on non-essential expenditures, etc. Then you help. It's yours anyway.
So it's safe to say that this is the time you can actually look into, will you need it? Is it the time to use it?
So now everybody should know that every cent you earn, you must not spend it, because there will be occasions like this again that will require you to dip into your emergency fund. Ito yung balance, cash balance that is set aside for such times when your money machine gets disrupted. Parang kami, I always have so many liters of diesel. I have a generator set at home, waiting for the brownout to come, and then I also always have a big underground cistern to store water for 1 week. These are for emergencies. But of course, I always fill up my water tank. I never empty it. I always have diesel. I never empty it, because when brownout comes and you don't have diesel, what use is your genset? So apply that to your business, apply that to yourself, so you can survive 6 months.
This is where actually a lot of entrepreneurs are realizing, hindi pala ako prepared, or time ngayon ko kailangan mag-prepare. Okay, a lot of questions are also very similar right now, but maybe to put it all together, I would ask our 2 mentors here. Everyone's talking about crisis management. It's time to do crisis management. Of course, we all know crisis management means dapat nag-prepare na tayo dati. But ngayon, we are dealing with something very different. Lockdowns nga, no one can travel, all of these curfews, which is of course also needed so that we can do and do this social distancing, ika nga. So what is this crisis management to look like for each and every entrepreneur? What are certain inclusions that we can do? For example, crisis management, yun nga, cash flow is one of them. What else aside from that?
No, and basically, it really depends on your business, and you have to look at your family reserve. No? Basically, as Johnlu was saying, what's your family reserve in terms of cash, no? Or savings, and what is your business equity so far? Do you have enough cash reserves that can weather your storm? No? You don't want to deplete your family reserve. That's no. The very worst case, if you want to take the risk, you can risk the business. But I wouldn't risk it all the way, because I want to see, okay, if times are really bad, then it is not the time. You can't force the customer to your store if he just doesn't want, out of fear.
Yeah.
So obviously you just have to close, right? Because you're not selling it a single cent every day. So you gotta stop the bleed immediately. By stopping the bleed allows you a better chance to restart. Okay, that's what you have to. You're riding through a bad storm right now. That's what you have to think. This is a really bad storm, and we don't know how long it will last. So you have to weather that storm. That's important. And to me, the fuel is the money, basically.
And it's a good practical way to look into it. If you're having a hard time taking in the bitter pill, then just look at your accounts as well, and your money and your reserves as well. Sir Johnlu.
I think for many people, this is the time for you to keep on talking to your friends, to your mentors, to your uncles, aunties, those who have been in a crisis like this. This is the worst time to become depressed, because it can really, trigger depression. And this is the worst time. If you stop talking to people, you really feel depressed because you think you're the only one being persecuted, which is not correct. If you had not listened to the news, the broadcast, social
No, if you listen to the
media.
news, you'll get more depressed.
No.
Or if you just keep reading the Facebook status of people.
Unbelievable. You look at the
Yeah.
newspaper, it's COVID.
No, it's depressed. It's
Yeah.
depressing simply because hope is dimming. So,
Yeah.
but when you talk to people like me,
Yes, or Sergio.
I will tell you
No.
the glass is half full. But there are people, alam na nga masama, tapos sasabihin na, kung sumabog pa yung, oh my gosh, get away from these people
This is
who are
very
the
important,
prophet of
yeah.
doom.
Yeah.
Don't talk to them. Dapat 26 meters apart.
Aside from, crunching the numbers and all, this is good that we're talking about this, and this is why actually Go Negosyo is here, no? Personally, and I'm sure some of our viewers, our mentors, and friends who are watching also online, I'm in the travel industry, and having been one of the really badly hit ones, not just me, even the
Chal,
airlines,
you
yes.
found
Yeah.
a sweet spot now.
Yes, I did.
No, it's a
But-
concierge thing.
Yes,
You
the
can
travel
imagine.
concierge. So,
Oh my goodness.
one of
galing.
the things is that really you feel like as an entrepreneur, oh my God, ako lang. And then you start listening into people. Like I remember nag-usap si Dean Pac, si Noel with George Winnicky, no, giving really all of these, paano mag-compute ng cash flow para makapag-decide sarado ba or bukas. And you realize all of us, it doesn't matter who, like I always say, no one is immune, but we are all finding a way. And this is where I say together is always better.
Yeah.
Because if you do it alone,
That's
my
why
God.
we decided to try to do this every day. I mean, that's the plan starting next week to
Galing.
continue to mentor me online.
think fast now.
Because everybody is going to be at home. You
And
know?
everybody's got this.
No,
going to use
everybody
their
will be
cell phone.
want to be away from you, but will
Yeah.
want to see their screens.
Correct. So they're going to be, just looking at their phone. So giving them some encouragement from different mentors out there gives them more perspective. In the end, I mean, I guess in one way or the other, each one of us has gone through trials, and this is definitely one of those trials. But encourage, Johnlu is correct that sometimes we have to manage the pessimism in ourselves. No? Definitely, when you look at what's happening, you think it's the end of the world. But in the end, there are good things that can come out of this. I've learned a lot from the Asian and the banking crisis, and those are the lessons that they don't teach in school. And this is something that they don't teach you. They don't simulate a virus as ruthless as this. So it's about how you are able to go through this storm, no, and survive. And different mentors will give you ideas.
Yeah.
Why are we on social media right now? Very simple. The highest viewership right now is the social media, and of course now the newspapers. I mean, people are also. The older generation is looking at more newspapers frequently, no? But online.
So
is
time
really
to
hot.
put back the ads, no, Joey?
So our ads are on the air right now at its highest level, no? Basically. But in the end, I think I am still very optimistic. If we make through with this, it will be a stronger country, a stronger Philippine nation that we've worked together and got through the worst crisis that I think nobody has ever seen. I thought this thing was just for the movies, zombies, pandemic, It's similar, the virus, everybody,
Exactly.
you go to their house, check your temperature.
or pang China lang. Para lang
Yeah,
natin
some people
malayo.
felt like immune tayo. Sila lang yun.
Kasi
Oo.
archipelago.
Or sa Netflix lang yan, di ba? Well, it's good that, it brings out the
Can I
humanity in
say-
all of us.
Can I say something lang, no? I really admire Joey kasi he is thinking for us. If we thought that we are thinking far enough, and then you suddenly hear him talk, he's already there. And he's already espousing ideas that we probably will think about tomorrow. I think the whole business community is indebted to Joey kasi he thinks for us and he galvanizes all of our efforts
And sentiments, yes.
and sentiments and deliver to government in one organized platform that government can digest. I cannot imagine somebody else who could do it as well And kaya hanga ang tao kay Joy. That's why when I received the call, yes. And yung postponement, yes. And kung kailangan, yes pa rin. Because in crisis, we all have to be united with one common goal. The common goal really is to not forget that we are we're a country of 109 consumers, that we're blessed with tropical climate. We have very young population of 23.5 average age. 90% of our people are under 50. They're still buying motorcycle, air conditioners, dishwashers. They love to go to the movies, buy another cell phone, another watch. They love sneakers, like Joy, like myself, like you. We are young. And this is just temporary.
No, wait, we just look young.
By the way, we have the
Baka
same
bukas,
age.
baka bukas, because you said entrepreneurs can relate to, and you can go straight to Malacanang, isang buong listahan na ng mga entrepreneurs na request natin, idadaan na kay Sir Joey
Hindi,
bukas.
for example lang. No? For example
Yeah,
lang.
but it's good to have an ear of a kapwa entrepreneur as well.
You look at just the recent past. I think Negosyo did well through Joey during the ASEAN Business Summit, ASEAN Summit. I think what we did all together became the template of something that ASEAN adopted. We can do it. Just look at the SEA Games.
In
Diba?
terms of preempting, that's why we're here now. Bago lang, di ba? Kung nasaan tayo ngayon. And look, this happened, and in a snap, we could call on and go live and discuss pressing matters like these and share it with everyone.
That's real democracy, especially in media. We've been just walking the talk for the last 15 years, basically. And in crisis is that when you are expected to be out there and try to help. Because I'm sure everybody today is feeling what we're feeling. I mean, will I make it or not? No. And when you look at what's confronting us, where some people add on to it, no, whether politically or not politically, it makes people lose their confidence. And when you start losing your confidence, then you will make mistakes. So I always tell people, listen to just not us. We will be inviting other mentors to give advice. May not be about business, it may be about your financial situation in your family, how to survive a crisis, because not everybody has a business, but they're wage earners. So how do you manage your family through this crisis? So I think, my father during his time fought a dictatorship. And I always tell this generation, if we don't turn that, the challenge that we have been bringing back democracy and allowing our Filipino people really fight what I call the biggest challenge is poverty, then the Philippines would never have really achieved what I call real democracy, because they're still imprisoned by poverty. And that is what we've been trying to do for the last 50 years. And when I look at the challenge today, after all what we've been doing, all the mentors and all of this, you try to help many people are starting their business, many people are doing well, then you have this hurricane of a virus coming in. And you say, shit, all of these things that I have been helping, many people will be affected by this typhoon and washed out. So what can we do? Well, we have to continue to do and just give them more confidence and guide them through this really strong typhoon. No? And I guess that's part of life. And it doesn't end there. I mean, this will be one, and if we go out of this, and I've gone throughout and I've done well. Even the worst storm where we are at the brink of losing everything, we made it through and made it much more. So that experience is really coming from my past lessons. In other words, think straight. Manage your fear that it doesn't overcome you, that you make the wrong decision. So you really have to really think through. Yes, pray, but you have to do both. Some people just pray and don't do the other thing and say, bahala na ang Diyos. And that is the worst thing to do. So you have to use your head, because God gave you a brain. You gotta think and pray that whatever you planned out will work. That's that's the best advice I can give. And moving forward, we will try our best to bring experts who've gone through challenges, you know.
Thank you, Joe.
And
It's really-
hopefully continue to inspire you. And I remain an optimist, but I also have to plan for if that doesn't happen. you know.
realistic.
You have your best case scenario and you have your worst case scenario, so you have a plan for both.
But since you're in government as well,
Part-time.
part-time, we're really blessed because there's nothing like somebody who there's nothing like an organization that has a channel to the palace. And I think for that, the business community is very blessed because individually it would be very difficult, but collectively somebody is willing to channel all of these sentiments to the palace. I think that's important. And then my take is this. I think a lot of entrepreneurs right now will probably regret why they got into business in the first place. Remember, the definition of an entrepreneur is somebody who takes risk. That's that mindset course, di ba, of negosyo, mindset setting. Are you ready to take on the risks? Yeah. And when I used to teach in the College of Business in UP, we always have a course called environmental scanning. That's the first course. And if you are averse to risk, I don't think you would want to be an entrepreneur, because if you look at the risk profile of your environment, both internally and externally, too many uncontrollable variables. And then in those days, in the 70s, the variable did not even include digital and transformational technology. Today, it's data technology. You don't even know whether the thing you're doing now will still be uso in the next 6 months. It's even more risky. But, as I always say, the higher the risk, the higher the return. The lower the risk, the lower the return. Eh kung no risk, no return, parang savings account sa bangko. Diba? Wala kang masyadong risk eh. Kaya maliit lang ang interest na bibigay sa'yo.
Thank you so much, Sir John. We just want to echo things that you've said. A lot of people agreeing and being thankful online, actually, for things that you've said. And a lot of people also saying thank you, Sir Joey, and echoing what Sir Johnlu said, that it's very good that we have someone in the government who understands us entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for your time. And also for taking the risk, for being here as well. But we have a few
1 meter.
1 meter apart. Kidding aside, no, people say that death, taxes, now there's a new word added to it, pandemics or crisis. These are the things that that we cannot anymore live without. This will happen again, maybe mutating into something different in a few more years. And hopefully we all learn from it, what's there to do. But that, again, my only message, and I want to share with everyone, together is always better. And that's why we're all here at Go Negosyo, to be able to be a platform for where you can discuss not just your questions, but even your fears. Pwede rin po yung pag-usapan para naman po maintindihan natin how to actually work on those and take good action. Thank you so much. My name is Chal, and this is Let's Go Negosyo. Thank you, Sir Jeron.